Hello and welcome to Golden Geography. Today we're going to be thinking a little bit about hazardous earth, which is one of the debating topics for OCR Geography A-level. So we're going to start with key question 4, which is what are the implications of living in a tectonically active location? We're going to talk about both volcanic and seismic areas. We're going to talk about the theory here, but please do make sure that you do have a little look at case studies that go with this. So we're going to start with 4A. There are a range of impacts people experience as a result of volcanic eruptions. So why do people live near volcanoes? Well, the first one is the most typical answer people give, fertile soil. And that's absolutely true if you're talking about explosive eruptions which generate ash clouds and pyroclastic flows. They will, in time, enhance the fertility of the soil and improve agriculture. But do be careful. If you're looking at effusive eruptions, particularly Hawaiian eruptions where the main hazard is lava, when that lava cools, it will solidify and it will take a very long time for it to weather down to produce soils. So those areas, you're talking hundreds of years, if not more. So just be cautious if you use that as an answer. There are definitely economic activities and opportunities. Mining, particularly for things like gold and diamonds, are found in volcanic areas. Geothermal energy is a key activity as well, or employment opportunity, and tourism. These all lead to people living in and around volcanic areas. There might be some sort of cultural or historical significance for those people. It might be their cultural and historical land that they're living on, their family's heritage. It might be that there's a lack of alternative land. There are some nations on our planet which are predominantly made up of volcanic islands, like Hawaii. It might be to do with the climate, the water sources that are available, resilience of the communities that live there, or it might just be that there's a lack of alternative. However, whatever the reasons, there are risks involved, and often people will do an assessment. They will kind of weigh up the benefits of living in a volcanic area and the opportunities of living there compared to the likelihood and the risk of an actual volcanic eruption. So what do people experience as a result of volcanic eruptions? Well, the impacts can be wide-ranging, but predominantly you're looking at demographic impacts. You're looking at the numbers of people who might have to migrate away, number of people who are injured or who have died as a result of that volcanic impact. You will have social impacts as well. That might be on communities or families. That might be a loss of services like education, places of worship or community hubs that might be lost. That will directly impact the people and the communities there. You will also find that you have economic, environmental and political impacts on the country. These will be predominantly negative, especially in the short term, but you might find there are some positive ones in the long term. Economic impacts, for example, damage to infrastructure, agricultural losses, losses to tourism, any kind of economic activity will be disrupted and there will be a cost involved to recover. But in the long term, absolutely, you might find that the fertility of your soil will improve, or you might find that your geothermal energy and activities will improve and benefit your economy in the long term. In terms of environmental impacts, if you're looking at volcanic activity, well, you are going to have significant habitat destruction from lava flows or pyroclastic flows or lahars. Potentially air pollution from volcanic gases, noxious gases, water contamination. They might find you get landslides or lahars. But again, you should or may find long-term positive impacts, increased soil fertility. New land might be formed, or new biodiversity opportunities, and areas of new land that may be fantastic to study as parts of the biodiversity colonise that new land, like Cersei. And then politically, any kind of volcanic event will have a strain on the governance. It will make it difficult for the government, local and central, to deal with some of the demands. It can upset people and it can can cause problems with international relations too. But positively, it can lead to global assistance and organisations getting involved and helping and improving, may change policy, government policy, and you might find in the long term, particularly if you're a developing country, that you have economic shifts and you end up in a better position and improved standard of living than you had before. Here's an example. We've got a few bits and pieces of impacts from the Icelandic eruption of 2010. Lots of economic issues there in terms of tourism and air traffic controls and issues with flying. Issues environmentally with local habitats being disrupted because of the deposition of ash and actually also the Jakob event that followed. And then political challenges too, international political challenges. 4b, there are a range of impacts people experience as a result of earthquake activity. So why do people live near plate boundaries or seismic areas? Well, again, economic opportunities. It might be to do with geothermals. It might be because those areas are good trades and have good port areas. There might be areas of outstanding natural beauty and people are attracted to it because of tourism, particularly mountainous areas. People's culture or historical roots might be tied to that area. They might be really urbanised areas. People might think about living there and go, well, you know what, it's a developed country, it's really prepared, it's okay. There might be a lack of alternative places to be. Might be perceived as low risk. How often does an earthquake happen? Or maybe they're relying on the technological advancements of warning systems or building infrastructures. When earthquakes happen, they do affect people. In the same way that they affect us if it's volcanic, there are demographic impacts as a result of earthquake activity. That would be looking at numbers of people who are killed, injured, or have to migrate as a result of earthquakes. And again, there's social impacts on communities and families, loss of services, education, healthcare services, community centres. And again, we can have economic, environmental and political impacts on a country. So economic impacts, you've got damage to infrastructure, to buildings, potentially loss of livelihood if businesses are destroyed, costs of reconstruction. If you're a developed country, you might be reliant on insurance claims and that might be difficult. But there may be developments and issues associated with things like geothermal energy developments may turn out to be positive in the long run. Environmental impacts are difficult, they're predominantly negative. So you could potentially have landslides or soil liquefaction, damage to natural landscapes, potentially even tsunamis that could damage the area. And as a result of either tsunamis or landslides, you might find that hazardous material is released into the environment. Hopefully in the long term it will be cleaned up. It's a challenge. It's an environmental disaster and an economic cost. And then politically, again, if you have an earthquake, it will put a strain on your government. Hopefully you'll be able to rely on international aid, but that can have challenges depending on the status of your country, its political position, and you might end up with policy changes. Again, positively, hopefully you get some global assistance or global awareness. You might find policies that are changed and improved and potentially some long-term economic shifts post-recovery. You might find that there's actually some stimulus within the economic activity. Example for you here, we've got the Haitian earthquake, which had some serious impacts for that country, and they're actually still trying to recover. Okay, so pause the video, have a little look at these key points. Green, you get it, amber, not sure, red, really need to look at it again. Thanks for listening.